You have felt it in the quiet moments after a long day when the room is still and yet your mind keeps moving. A pull towards something wider than the life you keep repeating. You sense an intelligence inside you that is faster than thought and kinder than the voice that keeps telling you to play small. When you reach for it, it slips through your fingers like light through water. You wonder if it was just wishful thinking, but it was not. If you keep missing it, it is not because you lack potential. It is because something is standing between you and the way you naturally sense, decide, and create. Imagine a version of you that does not need to chase clarity because you live inside it. Decisions arrive with the ease of remembering rather than the strain of choosing. Many people call this quantum consciousness, not as a classroom idea, but as a practical shift in identity, a way of being that is less about forcing outcomes and more about relating to reality as a responsive field that echoes your attention. In that state, the gap between insight and action becomes small, and the way forward feels like alignment. If you have tried to meditate, to read the right book, to journal yourself into a breakthrough, and still you return to the same restlessness, you are not alone. Most seekers circle the same 3 doors without walking through. The first door is the habit of hunting for certainty before you move, an endless search for guarantees that turns living into waiting. The second door is the story about who you are that was written by fear and repetition, a narrow script that edits out your wider capacities and then calls that safety. The third door is the way you treat your sensations as problems to fix rather than signals to follow, which teaches your nervous system to hide the guidance you need. This video is for the part of you that knows there is more bandwidth available than your current identity allows. We will walk up to each door together, feel its weight, and learn how to open it from the inside. I will not ask you to become someone new. I will ask you to notice the moments when your deeper intelligence is already trying to lead and to clear what keeps you from hearing it. You will be able to test every idea in real time inside your own experience. By the end, you will carry a felt map for moving from effort to coherence, from control to connection, from delay to clean action. If you are tired of standing on the same threshold, this is the moment you step through. Barrier 1 is the habit of hunting for certainty before you move. It feels noble because it dresses itself as responsibility. You tell yourself that a good life deserves a perfect plan, that the next step should feel risk-free, that wisdom means calculating every outcome until only one answer remains. In practice, this habit turns living into waiting. You try to hold the river still so you can study the reflections. And while you are measuring the surface, the current you wanted to ride has already carried your chance downstream. Reality never hands out airtight guarantees. Reality speaks in signals and thresholds and invitations. When you demand a promise of safety, you trade a living field for a frozen picture, and then you try to breathe inside that picture. It is no wonder it feels tight. Think about a time when you surprised yourself with clarity. Maybe you said yes to a conversation that felt slightly brighter than the others. Maybe you moved to a new city before you had the perfect reasons. Maybe you started learning a skill simply because you felt a pull. Those choices did not come from a spreadsheet. They arrived as a quiet recognition in your body, and you followed them. That is what I mean by quantum consciousness, as a practical mode of being. It is the way a complex system discovers direction from within when every part is allowed to share what it senses. Your inner signals meet the conditions of the world and a path congeals. The decision appears not as pressure but as relief, like remembering something you already knew. If you are addicted to certainty, there is usually a history to that pattern. Perhaps a risk once went wrong and the pain felt bigger than you could hold. Perhaps the people who raised you were unpredictable, and your nervous system learned that control equals safety. The adult mind then builds a bureaucracy around that lesson. You write reports in your head. You open meetings with yourself that never adjourn. You rerun scenarios and cross-examine your own instincts as if they were suspects. The cost is delay and fatigue. The deeper cost is that your intuition stops sending strong signals because it learns you will ignore them. It begins to whisper and then it goes quiet. Notice how this pattern feels somatically. Your jaw tightens, your breathing stays shallow. Your attention narrows around the hunt for the perfect plan. You stand at the fork in the path and wait for a sign that feels like certainty. That moment does not come because certainty is not a property of the future. Certainty is a property of commitment. When you commit cleanly, the pattern of your attention shifts and the world starts to organize around that choice. The map you wanted begins to appear while you walk, not before. So how do you move when fear is asking for guarantees? You do not bully yourself. You build trust with your system by taking steps so clean and so small that your body believes them. Choose a direction that already feels warm rather than trying to invent motivation. Ask yourself, what is the smallest next action that would make tomorrow unmistakably different from today? Take that action within one breath of recognizing it. Pause. Sense again. You are teaching your mind that movement is safe, that feedback will arrive, and that you are capable of meeting it. Very quickly, you gather real data instead of imaginary arguments. This is how momentum becomes information. There is a difference between analysis and attunement. Analysis tries to dominate the unknown. Attunement lets the unknown speak. Sit quietly for 1 minute and notice 3 sensations that are present right now. Let them be as they are without fixing anything. Give each sensation a simple name like tight or warm or buzzing. Then ask a plain question. What wants to move? Wait for a small impulse. It might be to stand. It might be to send a message. It might be to rest. Follow the smallest honest impulse and watch the field update. You are not chasing a mysterious force. You are letting your system complete a loop so it can show you the next one. You might worry that this approach invites chaos. In truth, life is already chaotic when you try to run it from the neck up. Attunement brings a different kind of order, the kind that emerges when each part contributes its intelligence. The mind still matters. It checks ethics. It allocates resources. It reflects on results. What it does not do is interrupt the first clean signal with a courtroom full of objections. That courtroom will try to reopen. When it does, treat the voices with respect and ask them for evidence that only action can supply. Then take the smallest step and get the evidence. Watch how the world meets you when you stop waiting. Replies come faster. Doors you did not notice are suddenly obvious because motion brought you to the right angle. This is not superstition. Movement reveals information that planning cannot access. Each action returns signals about timing and alignment and appetite. You collect those signals and let them shape the next step. The future stops feeling like a wall and becomes a conversation. When you look back at your stuck seasons, you will often see that the missing piece was the willingness to move without guarantees. You were waiting for permission slips that no one could sign. Give yourself permission to learn in public. Let results be teachers rather than verdicts about your worth. This is how you exit the loop of delay. This is how you step into the river that has been willing to carry you the whole time. As you practice, the body softens, awareness widens, coincidences increase, and certainty loses its grip not because you finally solved the future, but because you finally joined it. Barrier 2 is the story about who you are that was written by fear and repetition. It sounds like truth because you have rehearsed it for years. You say, I'm the kind of person who hesitates. You say, I'm not creative. You say, I always need someone else to open the door. The story feels familiar, and therefore it feels safe. Yet familiarity is not safety. Familiarity is the comfort of a cage whose bars you learn to stop touching. Quantum consciousness becomes unreachable when you treat that cage as your home rather than a temporary shelter you once needed. Every identity begins as a useful shortcut. Your system groups past experiences into patterns so you can move faster the next time. That is efficient until the shortcut hardens into a script that edits out new possibilities before they can even audition. The script says, stay inside the known lines because surprise once hurt. The wider intelligence inside you does not hate this script. It understands why it formed. It simply knows that a script designed to lower pain will also lower aliveness, and it will keep you safe and small at the same time. Listen to the phrases that leave your mouth when you are tired. I always quit at the halfway mark. I freeze in groups. I am bad with money. These sentences sound like observations, but they function like spells. Each time you speak them, your nervous system updates its model of who you are and what futures are available. Identity is not a label that sits on top of you. Identity is a choreography that your attention performs moment to moment. The choreography cues certain actions and forbids others. Change the choreography and the dance changes, and so does the world that appears possible while you move. There is a precise moment when the script tightens. You feel a small surge of curiosity, and then an image flashes of how it could go wrong. Your chest closes a fraction. Your tongue presses against the roof of your mouth. A memory arrives with the final tone of a verdict. This is not fate. This is a learned reflex. When you treat the reflex as reality, you become a character inside your own head, and the world shrinks to a set of props that confirm the role. The way out is attention, not the narrow attention that hunts for evidence against you, but the broader attention that notices the reflex, breathes once, and stays with the impulse that preceded it. Begin by catching the voice in real time. Give it a simple name you can recognize. Perhaps it is the guardian or the archivist. When the voice says you are not ready, do not debate. Debating keeps you inside the courtroom where the verdict is already fixed. Ask a softer question. What is the smallest version of this action that would be honest right now? Stay close to the body while you ask. If your breathing eases and your shoulders lower, you have found a move that belongs to the present rather than the past. Take that move and let it rewrite one line of the script through evidence rather than argument. People often ask how to rewrite a story that feels so old. The answer is not theatrical affirmation. The answer is a series of lived moments in which you act as the person you are becoming while your system stays regulated. A regulated act teaches faster than a grand gesture performed in a panic. You are training the choreography to include new steps. At first, the new steps feel awkward and you step on your own feet. Soon, your weight finds the rhythm and the floor stops creaking under you. This is how self-trust becomes structural rather than inspirational. Right here, I want to invite you into the practice with me. There is a line in your story that you know is too small. Maybe it says you are only valuable when you fix things for others. Maybe it says you must hide your appetite for beauty. Maybe it says your best ideas arrive only when a crisis forces them out. If you are willing, write a comment, naming one sentence you are ready to retire, and one sentence you would rather live by. Keep it plain and concrete so your system can believe it. The act of writing it in public is not a performance. It is a signal to your nervous system that the choreography is changing and that witnesses are welcome. As your story loosens, the texture of time changes. You notice micro-openings that used to slide past because your role had no use for them. A person you meet in line becomes a collaborator because you allowed your curiosity to cross the old border. A book you would have dismissed as not for you becomes a map because you let your questions be bigger than your label. Life responds in kind. When identity becomes porous, information penetrates, and what felt like random luck begins to look like a natural consequence of new participation. The old story will try to reassert itself, especially when you are tired. When it does, treat it the way you would treat a child who learned to flinch at loud noises. Offer reassurance and simple structure. Tell it what the next hour is for. Tell it what you will not do. Promise that rest is coming. Then take one clean action that confirms the promise. Consistency teaches the story that the present is not the past. Compassion teaches the story that it no longer needs to protect you by keeping you small. What you are building is not a brand new identity. You are building an identity that can update as fast as reality does. That is the essence of the quantum metaphor here. Many states exist as possibilities in the field of your attention. Which one you inhabit is shaped by how you observe yourself. Observation is not a camera that records. Observation is a choice that participates. When you choose to observe a wider you, the choreography changes, and with it, the world you can touch. Barrier 3 is the way you treat your sensations as problems to fix rather than signals to follow. When a wave of feeling rises, you brace against it. You try to reason with it, or distract yourself from it, or outrun it with productivity. This makes sense if you believe sensations are raw materials that must be processed before they can be safe. In truth, sensations are the language of your deeper system. They arrive before words not because they are primitive, but because they are primary. When you declare them wrong, you mute the instrument that is designed to guide you. Consider how quickly you label your inner weather. Tight means danger, heat means anger, heaviness means failure. Then you move into management. You adjust posture. You scroll. You snack. You rehearse the same thought until it feels like control. The relief is brief because you solve the sensation by silencing it rather than hearing it. Quantum consciousness remains distant here, not because it is mystical, but because a field cannot inform you when you are busy policing the messengers. The body is not a noisy hallway you must escape to reach the mind. The body is the meeting room where reality hands you your agenda. Begin to notice the first 2 seconds of sensation before the story arrives. There is a simple texture in that window. Tingling in the palms, pressure around the eyes, warmth in the chest like a small candle trying to be seen. If you can bear to stay with those raw textures without forcing them to mean anything, they will finish their own arc. Every wave has a shape it prefers when you do not hold it hostage with interpretation. You feel the crest, and then a settling. You feel a pull to turn left instead of right. You feel a memory surface that clarifies what today actually needs. This is not analysis. This is listening with your whole instrument. Many of us learned to ignore sensations because they were once too much. When a household felt unpredictable, numbness felt like safety. When a teacher shamed you for being tender, you learned to armor up. The adult mind then decided that sensation equals interruption, and that success requires distance from the body. Distance works until it does not. Distance can build great walls and efficient calendars. It cannot build coherence. Coherence is what happens when sensation, thought, and action begin to agree. It feels like a yes that echoes through the ribs and into the hands. It feels like a path revealing itself, one clean tile at a time. To practice without dramatizing, choose a moment today when a mild discomfort is present, a pinch of dread before a call, a wave of restlessness at your desk. Sit as if you were greeting a friend who speaks softly. Let your eyes move and register the shape of the room. Feel your feet against the floor. Notice one sensation that is neutral or pleasant, along with the uncomfortable one. Naming both at once widens the channel, so your system does not drown in a single note. This is not a trick to make discomfort vanish. It is a way to show your body that you can hold more of its language at once. When the channel widens, guidance has space to come through. You may feel an impulse to correct the feeling the moment it becomes clear. Resist that reflex. Correction keeps you inside the old loop where you relate to the body as a malfunction. Instead, ask a plain question inside the sensation. What do you want me to know? Then wait for the smallest image or urge. Perhaps the urge is to open a window. Perhaps it is to postpone an action that looked efficient but felt off. Perhaps it is to send a message that repairs a small tear. When you follow a simple urge that emerges from sensation, you gather proof that your body is not a saboteur. It is a collaborator that wants flow. There will be days when the signal is noisy. On those days, let yourself alternate between contact and rest. You sit with the feeling for a minute, and then you look around the room and name a color. You return for another minute, then you stand and drink water. The point is not to be heroic. The point is to remain in a relationship with your own experience. Relationship is the bridge to quantum-level sensitivity because the field responds to the quality of your attention. Harsh attention narrows the field. Curious attention widens it. You might wonder how any of this creates results. Notice what happens to your timing when you are in contact with sensation. You send a proposal on the afternoon when your chest feels open and your jaw is soft, and the reply lands with ease because you moved when your system was broadcasting yes. You decline an invitation that looked strategic but tasted bitter in your mouth. And the freed time allows a conversation that shifts your work in a way a plan could not predict. This is not magic. It is precision gained by honoring the instrument that detects resonance before the conscious mind computes it. As you keep listening, your tolerance for aliveness grows. You no longer panic when a big wave moves through because you have learned that intensity is often the sign of a boundary updating or a desire arriving. You let the wave show you what it carries rather than demanding that it calm down first. The world notices. People experience you as present without being heavy, decisive without being rigid, sensitive without being fragile. That combination is the signature of someone whose system is online. Decisions that once required long debates become simple because the signal-to-noise ratio has improved. This is the unglamorous secret inside the phrase quantum consciousness. You are not chasing a rare state. You are restoring your native bandwidth by respecting the earliest signals that reality uses to coordinate with you. When you treat sensation as guidance, you are no longer a step behind your own life. You are moving with it. You are participating in the pattern rather than supervising it. From there, the next right action is rarely loud. It is clear in a way that makes effort unnecessary and the way forward feel like relief. You do not need a new self to begin. You need to stop doing 3 things that close the door you are already standing in front of. First, stop hunting for certainty before you move. Certainty is not a property of the future. Certainty grows from clean commitment and from the information that only movement gives you. When you take the next honest step, the world shows its pattern, and your path becomes visible while you walk. Second, stop reciting the fear-written script about who you are. That story was once a protective tool, not a prophecy. Let this day be the day you speak one sentence that belongs to the person you are becoming, and let a small regulated act rewrite the line through evidence. Third, stop treating your sensations as faults to fix. Sensation is the first language of your intelligence. When you stay in contact long enough to hear it, guidance arrives as timing and desire and a simple next action that fits the moment. Everything you want from this work waits on the other side of these 3 stops. No gatekeeper stands between you and your wider bandwidth. The choice lives in your attention, in your breath, and in what you do in the next 5 minutes. Take one step that makes tomorrow unmistakably different from today. Speak one sentence that widens your role. Sit with one sensation until it tells you what it carries. Do this once and you will feel the texture of your life change. Do this often and you will become the person who does not chase alignment because you live inside it. If this message meets you at the right moment and you want to keep practicing with me each week, make this the second you subscribe so the next episode arrives right when you are ready to take the next clear step.